best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. We got a short week this week, so we are working towards the weekend here. We'll be off on Friday, our 104.5 ESPN staff, with the exception of Jimmy Ott, who will have his show from Rufino's on Friday from 10 to noon. I'll be playing golf. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're here the next 2 days, and we're here the next 2 hours here talking sports on the capital city's leader in sports talk. Lots to get to here on this Wednesday. College football recruiting budgets. Story came out, had a bunch of numbers. I kind of dove into it. We'll do that coming up next. It's a What If Wednesday, so we'll get some what ifs. I've asked for some from you in the Twitterverse, which we've gotten. Of course, we invite those in the Bayou Ford chat to throw some what ifs at me as well. You want to play spring games against opponents? Hugh Freeze thinks so. I'll give you my thoughts. Preview the Masters at 2 o'clock. Got some sound from D1 Baseball that I want to react to. Chris Demouy in his normal Wednesday spot. Take it or leave it. We got lots on this Wednesday, but we will start with LSU and Nichols last night inside the box. Tigers get another run rule win. 12-2 was the final. And it was workmanlike, and it was predictable, and it wasn't necessarily overly exciting, but I do think there were some things to draw from last night. I kind of made a big deal yesterday on the show of like, okay, what are we going to see? Are we going to see an effort to stretch somebody out in the midweek instead of Columbia, South Carolina? Or are we going to see the usual host of arms? What does the pitching plan look like moving forward? Because it's obvious that things are going to be shaken up a little bit. And they were. Christian Little got to start. That was predictable, and I was curious, okay, do they want him to go 4 or 5 innings to see how he looks stretched out, or do they want to keep his pitch count tight and then, have him ready to go on Thursday night if they need him in a high-leverage spot? Well, it turns out that was the case. They stopped him at 31 pitches. He had gotten 5 outs, so he worked into the second inning but did not finish it. And I thought Christian Little's first inning was pretty good. The first strikeout was a gorgeous breaking ball. The last strikeout was a gorgeous breaking ball. He got a strikeout between them. I thought he kind of hung that one, and the Nichols kid swung through it. But I thought he looked to have a little swagger to him. He looked to be snapping off the breaking ball pretty well. The command wasn't great, but he did miss some bats, and that's what his role is probably going to be on this team. He could start on Saturday in Game 3 of this series. I'm just going to call it that way until they tell me it's changed for weather. But if Game 3 would be Saturday, it wouldn't shock me if he started. And they said, okay, go give me 3 innings if you can. But in this game, missing bats, and he did that pretty well. Went to Helmers. He gave you a quality inning. But Gavin Guidry came in and got 4 outs after that. And this is going to be a developing situation. I think Gavin Guidry is going to be forced to help this team, and I think he can. That breaking ball is legit. He's got a good slider, and he throws plenty hard enough to get outs. Do I think he's ticketed for the rotation? Do I think he's going to be the closer? I'm not there yet. I do think he's going to have to help. This bullpen is going to need as many arms as can function to get outs in crunch time when postseason comes. And I've gotten to the point now where the Gavin Guidry thing isn't like, okay, let's see if he can pitch. It's, okay, we got to find a spot for him. And I think he will help. I'm perfectly fine with him getting some mop-up time on the weekends, getting some mop-up time in the midweek until he feels as comfortable as he can get out there. But he looks like he's going to have to be a piece to this bullpen. And then at that point in the game, they'd played 4 innings. So in the 5th, you go to Thatcher Hurd with a 6-run lead. That's pretty low stress. Nichols, 6-run lead, 5th inning. Go get me some outs. And his line is terrible for this spot. He pitched 1 inning. He gave up 2 hits and walked 2 guys. That on its face is awful. It wasn't quite as bad. I like to kind of dive into line scores. Sometimes it's the ones I've been telling you with Christian Little for 3 weeks. I thought his line score and the results of the game in College Station in Game 3 when he was out there on the mound and LSU gave up the lead, it wasn't as bad on paper as it was to my eye. Then he came out in the Arkansas game, and it was bad, and the line was bad. I'd like to go into a little more detail than just say, an inning, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and a strikeout. That's not good. The first 2 batters of the inning hit ground balls. And one Jordan Thompson got to and couldn't make the throw, and it was ruled a hit. And the other one, I thought off the bat, that's a 2-ball. I thought it was going to be a double play. And they had Thompson shaded a little bit to the 6 hole, and it's a single. It was hit pretty good. It wasn't like it was a screaming rocket off the scoreboard. But there were 2 ground balls to start the inning that weren't terrible. But then he never clicked it into gear. His fastball was sailing on him a little bit, and it was up, and the breaking ball didn't have a ton of bite. And the guy that I saw in those outings against Butler and Samford, that moxie, that edge, that confidence is just not there with Thatcher Hurd. It's just not there. And it would be odd if it was there when you were giving up walks and singles. Like, that's not something you want to bounce around the mound and get all fired up about. But it's just not there. And I'm just not sure where he fits in right now. In fact, I am sure where he fits in. It's right there. It's with a 6-run lead in the 5th inning on a Tuesday. That doesn't mean he can't get better as the season goes on. It just means that's where we are right now. And it's just it's a disappointment thus far in the season. Now, we'll continue to say this for a couple of weeks. To this point in the season, where we are right now through 3 SEC weekends, for Ole Miss, Dylan DeLucia and Hunter Elliott were not in the weekend rotation yet. They weren't. That was something that took time. Then by the time they got to Baton Rouge, they were, and those 2 guys were the horses to Omaha. And maybe Thatcher Hurd finds something. They're going to keep working at it. You can bet that. But right now, it's just not, there's not much bite on the breaking stuff. The fastball's not being commanded. The confidence isn't there. He's not missing bats. It's just, he just didn't in his inning last night. However, on the flip side, I've stayed consistent on this. Bryce Collins, it's coming. That was the best he's looked last night. An inning and a third, 2 strikeouts, big 12-6er, didn't miss the strike zone very much. He threw 15 pitches, 11 of them were strikes. That was his whole issue. It wasn't that he was getting knocked all over the yard, giving up a ton of solid contact. He was constantly behind in counts, and he was walking people. The last 2 outings have been good. Stay tuned. Would not surprise me in the least if that guy becomes a serious factor out of the bullpen in the next 14 days. Serious factor. That I'm encouraged by big time. You go to the offense. I think a big story is going to be made about Dylan Crew's 23-game hit streak coming to an end. He did reach base twice via walk, but he didn't get a hit. And that usually, for me, doesn't mean squat. I think it was cool that Trey Morgan hit for the cycle. I don't really care about it. I'm all for taking guys out with a no-hitter because their pitch count's too high. I'm here to win championships. The little things that happen along the way don't necessarily do a ton for me. That's why I'm fine with load management in the NBA. I'm fine with some tanking with the Cubs because you got to reshuffle the deck. Like, what are we doing to win a championship? And the hit streak, doesn't really matter to me. However, that said, we're talking about a guy whose number we may put up on the stadium one day. That's a legitimate conversation. And when we start rattling off accolades, if he throws a 39-game hit streak at you, that's something else you would probably bring up. So I do understand that in Dylan's case, maybe it means a little bit more for that type of thing, but let's just call it an on-base streak. He's reached base in every game this year. Can we just stick with that? Hit streak's cooler, DiMaggio, the whole thing. I got it. But let's just call it an on-base streak because no one uses batting average anymore anyway. It's all about on-base percentage. slugging, OPS, WAR. That's all still good. He just didn't get a hit. Gavin Dugas stays red hot, 3 for 3 with 3 driven in, just hitting the ball hard to all fields. I loved it. Pulling balls down the line for a double, hitting it off the center field wall for a big swing for a double that was a foot and a half from going out. That guy has just been such a revelation at the top of the lineup. I guess almost a resurrection of his career instead of a revelation. It's been awesome to watch, and he continues to club it. Tommy White leaves the yard twice. He continues to do that. It gets even more difficult to deal with Dylan Cruz. My dad came down for the weekend for Tennessee. It was the one weekend he was going to come in to watch baseball. Hadn't been to the box in 3 years. We were watching games together, which we're texting a lot, but we were watching the games together. And every time Cruz comes up, he's like, well, they got to walk him. I'm like, well, they can't walk him every time. He's like, yeah, you got to walk him. I mean, even when Tennessee was up 1,000,000 in Game 3 last week, my dad's like, you can't pitch to Cruz here. There's a base open. 2-run single. Yeah, that's stupid. You can't pitch to him. The more Tommy White does that, the tougher that decision gets. And Tommy White reaches double digits in homers. We knew that was coming. Driving the ball to the opposite field. We like to see that a lot. And then Jared Jones with the big swing of the game. An absolute mammoth blast, as we've grown accustomed to, that hit the Hancock-Whitney sign just left of the scoreboard, but it's the top one. It hit the top of that and bounced out of the stadium. It was launched to left field, and that's something we like to see as well. So I think as far as defense goes, it looked pretty good for LSU last night. No significant glaring issues. We'll talk about that in hour 2 with some sound from D1 Baseball. But overall, workmanlike performance. You're 25-4. Now you go to Columbia and play a team that's really feeling like it's got a really good team. They went on the road to Greenville last night and beat North Carolina. Their record's gaudy. Their Southeastern Conference record's gaudy. They've got a ridiculous stat sheet full of home runs. And we'll preview South Carolina tomorrow. But another big weekend in the SEC for this LSU team that continues to kind of chug along. Pitching side, some good, not some good. Offense looked pretty good to me. Tigers win it by the score of 12-2. We got a lot to get to here on this Wednesday. Hope your Wednesday is off to a really good start. We'll have in the second hour Chris Demouy talking baseball at 2:30 after I play some D1 baseball sound for you. What If Wednesday coming up in 15 minutes or so. So get those questions in the Bayou 4 chat if you've got some what ifs for me. It can be sports, can be not sports, can be past. What if this had happened or this hadn't happened, or what if something happens in the future? We'll do a lot of that coming up here in 20 minutes. When we come back, USA Today published a lot of the recruiting budgets in college football. I was shocked at where LSU landed on this list. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit more on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. The website's onebathandclosets.com. Tell you this every day, but David Duvall and his team, if you bring them out to customize a closet for you, they're going to start you with an application questionnaire, and they're going to say, okay, what do you have here? What do you think you need? And then they'll customize, based on those answers, a closet just designed for you. I know there are some folks, myself included at times, that are waking up and still dark in the bedroom and you're shining your phone light in there to try to find stuff in your closet. They can put some lights in there for you. They can do some things with some shelves and some racks, some mirrors to help you out. And the best part is, if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, they're not going to charge you to rip out your current closet. They're also not going to charge you the labor to install the new one. They're just going to charge you for that unit. The website's onebathandclosets.com. Check it out. They've got all types of pictures of their great handiwork there. You can request that free consultation on the website. And also, you can check on their reviews. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, best in the game. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text TB to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Jeep Gladiators and $8,000 off new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokees. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at The Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown, presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com. All right.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Nichols in baseball, Pell's Kings on the hardwood, and its championship celebration day. Join us for Wednesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, I want to remind you all about what we do here in April at 104.5 ESPN and actually entire Guarantee Media family with our Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True Radiothon is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. Today's Dream Come True Radiothon presented by Service Chevrolet and the losses of O.C. Brown. You can donate today at 1045ESPN.com. Dreams Come True is such a wonderful organization that helps the young people in our state who are affected by life-threatening illnesses, whether it's sending them to Disney, whether it's getting them a puppy, meeting their favorite athlete. Dreams Come True makes these things happen for these young people, and we partner with them every single April and help raise as much money as we can to grant as many dreams as we possibly can. So we ask our listeners this one time a year to go to 1045ESPN.com and donate. There is no amount that is too little. There is no amount that is too much. And our wonderful sponsors like Service Chevrolet, the law offices of O.C. Brown, are going to match up to a certain amount to help contribute to make these dreams come true. So if you go to 1045ESPN.com today and donate, we would certainly appreciate it, as would the children in our state. Interesting story on USA Today about recruiting budgets in college football. I think the days of give me the 3-star that wants to be here over the 5-star because they're entitled, there was a lot of that like 10 or 12 years ago. And maybe there are still some people that feel that way, but pretty much everyone's on board with the fact that the army of 5 stars is going to beat the Army of 3 stars just about every day. And the teams that hoist the trophy at the end of the season have the 5 stars. And they certainly have all the 4 stars. And they don't have a lot of 2 stars that didn't have a lot of offers but are really excited to play college football. I think we're all pretty much on the same page there. And it was interesting to hear Kirby Smart over the last couple of years just be like, recruiting, that's it. You have bad players, you have no chance. You have great players, they're easy to coach. And I think everyone realizes that recruiting is the lifeblood of college football. You got to have a good coach. Got to catch some breaks. Scheduled it. I gotcha, but you need the dudes. So USA Today just started looking at the last 6 years of recruiting budgets and seeing who's spending the most and what's the return on that investment. And in 2022, Georgia spent $4.5 million on recruiting. Texas A&M was third on this list at 2.9. So A&M is third on the list at $2.9 million spent. Then there's Clemson. And then there's Georgia at 4.5. So that is $1.6 million more that Georgia is spending than the third place team. They are outspending everybody on recruiting. And oh, by the way, they got a boatload of great players in their state. Not a secret sauce. That's the sauce. It's right there on the USA Today article. Over the last 6 years, they've spent $16.5 million in recruiting. Second place is Alabama at 11.4. They're 5.1 north of Bama over that time. Georgia is spending a ton of money on charter flights and amount of visitors and hotel rooms. And I mean, we read that story back in the summer about what the Texas weekend was with Arch Manning and how ridiculous it is. And they're taking all these people, all the parents to the steakhouse and parents on booze cruises and kids going to Topgolf and the whole deal. It's expensive. And if you're willing to spend, good on you. Now, you might want to ask yourself, if Georgia's spending 4.5 last year, what did LSU spend? So I started scrolling down past Clemson, A&M, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, Bama, okay, Michigan, Oregon, Florida, Rutgers, Penn State, Washington, Maryland, Arizona, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Cal, Louisville. You got to go all the way down to find LSU by Colorado and Washington State at $742,000. Huh? This Brian Kelly guy, he didn't care about recruiting. They're not even spending $1 million, $700,000. Oh yeah, LSU is dealing with some self-imposed sanctions because of the probation. They're not doing quite as much. That number's going to go back up. LSU, over the past 2 years, since those sanctions have been put in place, have spent just over $1 million over the last 2 years. They were at $1.6 million in 2019 pre-pandemic. Now, that's a different staff, but I just couldn't believe that I was scrolling down 30 places to find LSU on this list until I realized, oh, yeah, self-imposed sanctions. LSU decided back when the ruling was enforced that they were going to limit their unofficial visits, limit their evaluation days, those kind of things. And so you probably got to tone it down a notch to adhere to the self-imposed sanctions. So I would anticipate that LSU will be right back up towards the top of this list. I could not believe that Rutgers jumped up into the top 15 of this list at $1.6 million last year. I guess Shiano decided that was necessary after they spent $226,000 in 2021. So the teams that are getting the biggest return on this investment, obviously Georgia, obviously Alabama, they're recruiting at an unbelievable level. But not only are they spending astronomical amounts of dollars on facilities, astronomical amounts of dollars on coaches, astronomical amounts of dollars in NIL, astronomical amounts of dollars in recruiting, Texas A&M still not quite where they'd like to be. Now, the Aggies did spend $2.9 million, almost $3 million last year when they signed the 416 five-stars. That just translated into a year where they didn't make a bowl game. But some of the schools I was surprised to see on this list, Rutgers, Washington, Maryland, Arizona, those schools outspending Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas, South Carolina. That surprised me. And then one that is consistently underinvesting in everything they do is Florida State, who's down just in front of LSU around 25. Florida State last year spent $899,000. Now, they were spending more when Jimbo was there in 2017. They spent $2.2 million. And then he left town, and they quit spending money. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, how much are you willing to invest? And the question is, how much of this, because there's only so much money. It's a ton, but it is essentially finite in terms of how much people are willing to spend. So what amount of money goes into facilities at this point? Like, do you have to build the biggest, baddest, best indoor facility and practice facility and your biggest, baddest locker room? Do you need to sink all your funds into making sure your recruiting visits are second to none? Charter flights and all that. Do you need to spend that money on NIL? Your players need the cash. I mean, we famously heard Will Wade say, we'll fix the locker room later, make sure the players get what they need when NIL hit. But you need like 8 guys in basketball. We need 85 in football. It's a little different. So I found it fascinating. I just could not believe, because you figure every time you look at one of these things, whether it's investment, whether it's wins, whether it's any kind of poll that deals with the elites of college football, LSU usually shows up right at the top. And it was just very difficult for me to scroll past Rutgers, Arizona, Georgia Tech, Utah, Louisville, Virginia, Kentucky, Purdue, Kansas before I got to LSU. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then I started thinking, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I imagine that number's going to ramp back up with a quickness here as the next numbers are brought out. But Georgia's spending the most by a long, long shot, and Georgia's winning the most by a long, long shot. Those two are not coincidental. That is causation. And that's the name of the game in college football. It's a What If Wednesday here. We'll come back and do that. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Telling you every day about our friends over at Rally Cap Brewing Company. It's born right here in Baton Rouge, handmade for the home team. And y'all know me as a beer drinker. Y'all know that I kind of stay in my box. And Rally Cap has allowed me to kind of get out of that. I think there are a lot of people that listen to this show that are like, yeah, I kind of am staying in line with what Hunt's thinking in terms of beer drinking. Give Rally Cap a shot. They got 14 beers on tap at their brewery right here in Baton Rouge, off of Segan Lane near Airline Highway. Head on over there and watch some baseball. Enjoy some of their awesome beers. I love the first pitch. You can find it at Alec Box Stadium. It's right here on my set, this teal can. You cannot miss it. And it's delicious. It is light. It is refreshing. It's great as the weather warms up. If you're more into craft beers with a lot more intricacy, your sours, your stouts, all that, they've got it for you at Rally Cap. It's family friendly. It's pet friendly. And they're offering tours over at their brewery, which is really cool. We went through last week and saw they've got tours Wednesday through Friday at 5 o'clock and Saturday at 1. You've got to purchase tickets in advance. So don't just show up and be like, hey, I'd like to go on the tour. You got to purchase your tickets in advance at rallycapbrewing.com, and they'd love to have you. And you can enjoy some wonderful beers at the end. They've got a guided flight. And you can also find them all over town. I was in the grocery store today at Whole Foods picking up some lunch. Saw Rally Cap right there in Whole Foods. Handmade for the home team. It is Rally Cap Brewing.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're asking for your support in our effort to making more dreams come true. Each year, our Dreams Come True radiothon is powered by the Baton Rouge Clinic. Visit GuaranteeMedia.com to pledge your support today, and thank you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile
on Thursdays, OTB, we get you ready for the weekend as we preview a little LSU South Carolina. Also, we'll talk some LSU spring ball off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Chris Demouy in an hour from right now. Had a good time with Demouy on Sunday, recapping LSU baseball on his 60 feet 6 inches LSU baseball podcast, and he'll join us in his normal Wednesday spot coming up here at 2:30. I'm going to talk a little bit in the second hour about the Masters, as well as some sound from D1 Baseball's podcast about LSU that might surprise you just a little bit, but we'll get to that in hour number 2. It is Wednesday. It is 1:30. That means it's time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, Jacob Beck, let's rock.
Let's go. What if Paul Mainieri had bunted Rafe Rhymes against UCLA?
This is everyone's favorite. I was there that day. I was covering the team. To set the scene for you, it was the 8th inning, and LSU was down 2-1. Mason Katz had hit 1 home run, but LSU was down 2-1. Bregman had kicked a ground ball and allowed 2 runs to score. And so you had Rafe Rhymes up, who was one of the better contact hitters in all of college baseball, and 2 men on, just one man on first base, nobody out. And so I screwed that up. There's a guy on first and nobody out, and Rafe up. And Daniel Berg was the closer for UCLA. He threw kind of sidearm, and he threw in the mid 80s to upper 80s. It was a bunch of sinking, but it was very much not dominant stuff. And instead of bunting the runner to second base, Paul decided to call a hit and run. And Rafe hit an absolute rocket right to the third baseman, who turned a double play. And then you got 2 outs and nobody on, and LSU did mount a threat and lost the game 2-1 with one of the best teams in school history. They ended up losing to North Carolina 2 days later, and they were out in 2 after a phenomenal run in the regular season. It was the right call. You had one of the best contact bats in the history of the program, maybe the best contact bat in college baseball at the time. I mean, you're talking about a guy who hit 420 the year prior. And so he's not going to get blown away by this 86-mile-an-hour fastball. You put a guy in motion, you trust him to make contact, he rips it. If it's a foot closer to the line, it's a double down the line, and the guy at first probably scores. The size of that park at that time, you got him in motion. It was a great call, great decision. It just didn't work. And hindsight is a heck of a thing and can be 20/20 at times, and it did not work out. But I just think it was a great decision. If you were facing a guy that threw 99 miles an hour with a wipeout slider, and you just didn't feel like you could get a couple of hits, even with Rafe it up, okay, you may be able to give up an out there and then just hope somebody finds a hole in the next 2 swings. This guy was hittable, and Rafe was great at handling the bat. It was the right call. It just did not work out. So it is certainly a what if, because that team had all the goods to make it to the College World Series. They actually got exactly what they needed, because North Carolina, LSU, and Vanderbilt in 2013 were head and shoulders the best 3 teams. Vanderbilt got beat in their super regional, so they didn't make it to Omaha. And LSU and North Carolina were on the same side. But LSU was playing UCLA in the opener, and they were on the same side as North Carolina, who had to face NC State in that first game with Carlos Rodon on the mound, who might have been the best pitcher in the country, not named Aaron Nola that year. And Rodon beat North Carolina, so LSU would have gotten North Carolina State with no Carlos Rodon to get in the driver's seat of that bracket in Omaha, and it fell their way, and they just didn't get it done against UCLA. They hit a couple of fly balls to the track against Adam Plutko. Ibarra hit a couple of those, and it just didn't work out for that team up there, which happens when you go to Nebraska. But I thought it was the right play that Paul made there.
I feel like that's probably a lose-lose situation. Like if he bunts him over, they get another out, they got 2 outs, then it could go.
You got to hit 500. So. If you bunt him over, you have to hit 500. To score the run.
All right, moving on. What if you got to play the Masters from 150 yards on every hole?
Okay, this was spun from the internet today, and it was from the 100-yard marker. For reference, I don't really play that much golf anymore. My handicap says I'm a 5. I'm probably closer to like a 9 right now. I would shoot somewhere in a normal average golf course. If I go out and play, I'm probably going to shoot an 82 or an 83. Like that's my golf game right this second. If you put me on the 100 marker, which the question is a 150-yard marker, if you put me on the 100 marker and I got to hit 60-degree wedges at every hole, and this is with the full gallery, playing against John Rahm, the whole deal, I think I'm going to win the Masters from the 100 almost for sure. I'm going to hit most of the greens from 100 yards out, and then I have to 3-putt for par. Every 1 putt is an eagle, and every 2 putt is a birdie, and I'm hitting 60 degrees at all the pins. I think I'm going to win the Masters. You back me up to 150, and we got a whole different ball game, because now I'm hitting, depending on your elevation change, I'm hitting between a pitching wedge and an 8-iron, depending on what the hole is and where the stick is. I'm not as comfortable with. I'm not gonna hit all those greens. I'm gonna hit closer to half of those greens, I think. And then all of a sudden I'm chipping, hitting sand shots. We got problems on our hands from the 150. So I think I could give it a run from the 150 if I was practicing and playing a little bit, but I would say I would not win the Masters. If you put me on the 100-yard marker with a 60-degree wedge for 4 days, I'm gonna be pretty tough to beat. at Augusta. However, I don't think the Green Jackets are going to give me that opportunity this year. So I'll probably just come back and do the show tomorrow.
Well, I think it also depends too on the wind. If there's a lot of wind, even from 100 yards, it's still not super easy.
Yeah, it's not super easy, but I'm still. I mean, if I miss the green, I can chip up and 3-putt for a bogey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's doable.
Yeah, I agree. What if the Dolphins medical staff had given the green light to Drew Brees?
So this one's a famous one. We've gotten this like every week that we've done this, and I haven't read it just yet because I think it's been talked about a lot. But I've gotten it so many times that I'll just go ahead and throw it out there in the what ifs. This is probably the most significant decision in the history of Louisiana sports, outside of like acquiring the Saints. Like, I mean, since the teams have been put in place, I think this is maybe the most significant decision ever because it drastically altered the futures of Alabama football right across from the golden age of LSU, as well as the greatest era in the history of the Saints. And so if Saban never ends up back at Alabama and ends up somewhere else, I think it far like impacts the Les Miles era because LSU was significantly better than most of the other teams not named Florida for a lot of that run. And it just, you ended up going to Tuscaloosa or having them come here and they beat you 10 years in a row. And that wouldn't have happened if the Dolphins would have gotten Drew Brees. I think Saban would have stayed a little bit longer and maybe would have stayed for a long time. I think there's a realistic thought along this what if that he would just get tired of guys that he couldn't be what's the word I'm looking for? He runs that place with an iron fist in Tuscaloosa.
You wouldn't be able to control.
Yeah, he is the law. He makes every decision. You can't do that in an NFL locker room. Those guys make more money than you. They're way older than that. They're not going to listen to that stuff. And so I think he probably would have gotten sick of it at some point, but Brees probably instantly makes them significantly better. I don't think without Sean Payton calling the plays and running the offense the way he did in New Orleans that it's quite as good as it was in New Orleans, but he's going to be a really good player, and I think Saban probably would have put some good coaches around him, and they'd have probably won. And he just stuck around in the NFL far longer. I just don't know if he would have been able to do it for a career because that's just not the way I don't think he wants to coach football. I think he wants to coach football understanding that he controls every movement that every human makes 24 hours a day, and you can't do that in the NFL. So it makes the Saints, I mean, probably still a doormat in the NFL, frankly. I mean, you got Peyton, and he may have found his quarterback that would have made some things work, but I don't think it looks like Brees. And so that is, to me, the most significant thing that has ever, most significant decision in the history of Louisiana sports because it impacted the two biggest brands in the state, which are LSU football and the Saints. It's something to think about. And my dad, who is a just absolutely diehard LSU football fan and diehard Saints hater. You ask, who's your dad's favorite NFL team? Well, who are the Saints playing on Sunday? That's his squad. That's the way he operates. And he says that they need to put it on his tombstone. All the Dolphins medical staff screwed up because it brought him 15 years of having to worry about the Saints winning the Super Bowl and Alabama becoming a unbelievable dynasty with Nick Saban going there. So that's the questions that Beck had for me. I headed to the Bayou Ford chat and to Twitter to see if there are any more. Let's see. That's not worth a time. Stephen Miller, what if we had perfect weather for the Stony Brook Super Regional? That's one. I think a lot of people who weren't in Baton Rouge may now, 11 years later, have forgotten that it was the rainiest Super I've ever seen, and that we had to stop and start a ton, and that game one was played over 2 days. If you were here in Baton Rouge and you were going to the games, you certainly remember that it was so disappointing. They put LSU in the early window on Friday because Stony Brook's not a brand, and they wanted the teams that would draw eyeballs at night in prime time. So we started on Friday and played, and then it was a washout, and then they had to come back on Saturday, and you had to restart that game, and Gosman came in from the bullpen to start the resumption of game one, and he got him out in order, and then Katz hit the walk-off single in game one to win that game, and then you brought Gosman back in game two, and then the rains came while he was on the mound, and this is where it became the most impactful. And I remember sitting in the press box watching this, and then Kevin Gosman came on the air with us on some show I was doing here years later, and I asked him, I said, Kevin, could you throw a curveball in the rain against Stony Brook, and he said no. He tried a couple of times, and it slipped out of his hand and was nowhere near. And then Stony Brook knew, like, okay, this guy, does throw 96 miles an hour, which at this time is maybe one of the hardest throwers in college baseball, but we can sit on fastball. And they sat on fastball, and they hit him pretty hard, and they ended up chasing him from the game and winning game 2 and winning the Super Regional. If the weather is perfect, I think Gosman is significantly more able to pitch, and I think LSU probably wins the Super Regional. The way it played out, once he came out of the game, Stony Brook wore LSU out. But the fact is that LSU beat Stony Brook with Nola in game 1 and had Gosman going in game 2, and I think that would have been enough to win the Super. We'll never know, but I believe that what if to be true, because I've asked him about it and he confirmed it and I watched it. So that's a great one from Stephen Miller to ask about that Stony Brook Super, because the weather made a huge impact. It made an impact on the crowd, made an impact on the flow of the games, it made an impact on the pitchers on the field trying to make pitches, and Gosman was the most effective. And to credit Stony Brook, the Seawolves, Willie Carmona and Travis Jankowski and the crew for coming through and getting big hits when they had to, and they went to Omaha, and LSU did not, with a starting rotation that included Kevin Gosman and Aaron Nola, which is, looking back on it, amazing. All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for throwing your questions into Twitter and the Bayou Ford chat. We will take a timeout, come back, and close out our number 1. Hugh Freeze has an idea. I'll tell you what I think about it next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at The Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and Joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown, presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com.
All right. I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
All right, let's say ah.
Charles Handigrove, join us for the Thursday edition of Handy Time. We recap the Pels against the Grizzlies, plus we look ahead to the Monster Series between LSU and South Carolina. Handy Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So Hugh Freeze has an idea that he threw out to the press yesterday. Auburn spring football said that football teams should scrimmage against each other in the spring. Sell tickets, put it on TV, so people would come watch it. We could sell the TV rights to it. He threw out we could donate the money to charity if we wanted to. And he also threw out that he thinks it would reduce your chance for injury by 50%, which, that's just doing math. You take 50% of your players off the field in a scrimmage and put other guys out there. You only got 11 out there instead of 22. Okay. And I started thinking about it. I went, okay. As is always my contention, does that help LSU win a championship if they bring Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Tech or Rice over here to scrimmage in April? I don't think it does. Now, that's one piece. I think LSU scrimmaging against themselves is just as significant and probably better for the guys. Probably better for Jarvis Landry to work against who were the corners in 11? I'm just drawing a total blank on that. I know that entire defense. Morris Claiborne as a freshman. It's probably better for Justin Jefferson to work with against Derek Stingley in a scrimmage than it is to bring Louisiana Tech over. But the other piece to this is not necessarily whether or not it helps LSU. The other piece to it is, what about money? Because that's what it always comes down to. And I do think there's money in it. They already televised the spring games. I think you could sell tickets to LSU and Tech scrimmage in April. I think people would go watch. And I think people would watch on TV. So I think it could be a reality. I mean, we already know that the baseball teams do it in the spring. We already know that behind closed doors, basketball teams do it. So there's precedent for this. And I think, as with everything, money is always a huge factor, and this could be a revenue stream. So my opinion, and I don't know if Hugh Freeze just came up with this on his own. I don't know if this is something he's wanted for a long time and just decided he was going to talk about it. I don't know if he's heard any indication that could be something that's realistic in the coming years. But to me, it sounds like money. And what have we learned? We're going to do things for money. We're expanding the NCAA tournament for money. We're changing conferences for money. Money rules everything. It trumps rivalries. It trumps common sense at times. It just rules. And so it doesn't really do anything for me. Yes, if LSU played Louisiana Tech in a scrimmage in April, I would probably go cover it, and we'd talk about it on the show, and that's all well and good. Do I need it? Probably not. I'm fine with the spring game. Run the clock. Let some of the walk-ons play. See you in August. Question. If LSU scrimmaged another D1 opponent, would you be in favor of it? Yes or no? That's our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. We'll put that up there and we'll get the results at the end. I've got a feeling, because I know how y'all's DNA works, you want more football. More football, more football, more football. This is more football. And I think you'd be all for it. And I'm not, vehemently opposed to it. Like it's some kind of disastrous idea. It's just not necessarily geared towards me. So we'll check the results of the poll at the end of the show and kind of see how things shake out. First hour of the show in the books. My reaction to LSU and Nichols from last night at the top of the show. College football recruiting budgets. LSU's not in the top 30. Why? Talked about that in segment number 2. It's a What If Wednesday. What if Paul Maneri had bunted Rafe Rhymes? What if you got to play the Masters from the 150-yard marker? What if the Dolphins medical staff had given a different report on Drew Brees? All those questions are answered. Then a little spring football talk. If you missed any of that, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, all our stuff uploaded all those places each and every day, so you can find it at the palm of your hands. We're going to check out for SportsCenter real quick, get some sound from D1 Baseball, Chris Demui in hour number 2, but when we come back, I will get you ready with some thoughts on the Masters. It's a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at the Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com.
All right. I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at Front front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get him now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Water.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Amid the standoff with quarterback Lamar Jackson, Ravens GM Eric DeCosta acknowledged today the possibility the team could select a QB in the first round of the upcoming NFL draft. The Ravens would not answer any questions about Jackson, who has asked for a trade. After watching Joel Embiid's performance in the 76ers win over the Celtics, Philly coach Doc Rivers declared the NBA MVP race is over. Embiid outstanding for the entire 38 minutes, 37 seconds he played in just the latest example of why he's clearly the league's most valuable player, according to Rivers.
The 52 points were huge. The efficiency, 20 for 25, the rebounds, the assists, the game-changing shots defensively. You know, you're sitting there as a coach, and you say, this is what an MVP looks like to me. And so that's why I said it. Doc
Rivers on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Embiid currently the odds-on favorite to win MVP. Augusta National Chairman Fred Ridley confirmed Live Golf CEO Craig Norman was not invited to this week's Masters to ensure the focus is on the tournament and its players, not Live Golf's ongoing rift with the PGA Tour.
When you're trying to hire and fill open jobs, the searching, screening, and interviewing can become its own job. You need Indeed, their powerful hiring platform that makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on this Wednesday. Hope you got a short work week, and I hope it is more than halfway over. We're hanging out with you here until 3 o'clock. We'll be at our normal schedule tomorrow, getting you ready for LSU in South Carolina, giving you updates from the Masters. And then Friday, we will be off, other than Jimmy Ott, who will be at Rufino's from 10 to noon in his normal time slot. But the rest of us will be off for the Easter weekend holiday. I do want to talk Masters here. I'm looking up the par 3 competition. Seamus Power made back-to-back hole-in-ones at the par 3. Scotty Scheffler made a hole-in-one at the par 3. So it looks like a nice afternoon over there at Augusta, and the weather doesn't look great moving forward. But I wanted to give some thoughts on the Masters here. And I'm going to start in a spot that it appears I heard Scott Van Pelt say this yesterday, and he's there, believe that this is something that's made up by the journalists and the analysts and the commentators. It's the LIV versus the PGA Tour feud, and that this is one of the 4 weeks per year where those two come together, because those that are LIV golf participants that qualify for the 4 major championships are invited to play and are playing. And it does matter what the result of LIV golf is. It's directly correlated to the future of the PGA Tour. If great players and huge brand names continue to go play LIV golf, it significantly weakens the PGA Tour, and the people most impacted by that are the viewers, me, you, if you're a big golf watcher. Wouldn't you rather watch the biggest tournaments and the PGA Tour tournaments, the Pebble Beaches and the Rivieras and the Players and the Bay Hills, and wouldn't you rather watch that with all the best players in the world? Or would you rather 12 of them go play on the CW on some municipal course in Orlando that no one's ever heard of and whisked away for their $150 million? I'd rather watch them all play. So the more viable LIV golf is, the worse that is for the golf fan and certainly for the PGA Tour. And so this is the first time they've come together to play in the Masters. And the suggestion is, oh, it's no big deal. Everybody's friendly. It's going to be fine. When in reality, as Tiger said, there are elephants in the room. The Champions Dinner last night, and then what the pairings are when they came out. Augusta National is in charge of the pairings. And for those who aren't familiar with the way golfers are generally paired, on the PGA Tour and in tournaments like this, generally you are paired with players of your ilk. Justin Thomas doesn't go play Riviera with Scott Stallings and JT Poston. They're not in his group. Jon Rahm and Jordan Spieth are in his group. Colin Morikawa doesn't play with Andrew Putnam when they go to Bay Hill. Colin Morikawa plays with Max Homa and Rory McIlroy. That's how pairings work. Well, let me give you the live golfers' pairings for the first 2 rounds of the Masters. Of course, on Friday and Saturday, you play with whoever is in contention with you. But here are some of the pairings that the live golfers got. Sergio, who's a past champion, is playing with Kazuki Higo and Keith Mitchell. I don't think so. Patrick Reed is playing with Adam Svensson and Sahith Theegala. Now, Sahith Theegala is an incredibly talented player who's going to win on the PGA Tour. Adam Svensson just won. But Patrick Reed's Captain America. He's a Masters champion. He's not supposed to be playing with those guys. Bubba Watson's playing with Seamus Power and Mateo Fernandez de Oliveira. Now, Bubba's a little past his prime, but still, he's a past champion. Bryson, one of the biggest brands in all of golf. He's with JT Poston and Francesco Molinari. I know Molinari won a major. He's 40 years old. He's a little bit off the beaten path. But last time Bryson played in the Masters, he was playing with Adam Scott and Max Homa. Brooks Koepka just won the live event. Can't tell you what it's called. I know it was on some municipal course. I think it may have been at Webb Park. But Brooks won it. He's playing with Gary Woodland and Danny Willett. Last year, Brooks played with Rory. I know Danny Willett won the Masters. What's he done since then? If he walked up to you in the mall, would you know who it was? I know Gary Woodland won the U.S. Open. He makes about 8 cuts a year now. Brooks was a top 5 player in the world. He was playing with Rory last year. Not the case anymore. Phil Mickelson. One of the greatest brands in the history of golf. One of the greatest champions in Masters history. He's playing with Tom Hoge and Siwoo Kim. And I got to tell y'all this. Phil Mickelson, who has been a shining light in the golf world for decades. Him walking around Augusta National in high flyers gear is one of the most pathetic things I've ever looked at on my television screen. He didn't do a press conference. He rules the press conference room early in Masters Week every year with the one-liners and talking about the coffee and needling other players and needling the media. He runs that room. Didn't do the press conference. There were past champions who were at dinner last night, said he kind of sat in the corner and didn't talk. One of the biggest, brashest dudes has sunk into a corner because he took the money and ran. It's so sad. He would have been an honorary starter one day at Augusta. Now he sits in the corner at the Champions Dinner with probably... It's so sad. Dustin Johnson, Masters champ, top 10 player in the world for way over a decade. Got a chance to win this week, I would think. He's playing with Corey Connors tomorrow. Justin Rose. When was the last time Rosie did anything outside of winning Pebble this past year with Bill Murray out there? Last year he played with Morikawa. He was on the Ryder Cup team. Now DJ doesn't care. DJ goes to Champions Dinner. He's totally fine taking the money and checking out. Doesn't care about legacy. Doesn't care about the future of the tour. Doesn't care about the right thing. To Dustin Johnson, if you watched the Netflix series, to Dustin Johnson, this was the right move for generations of his family. And you know what? I'm not mad at him for it. He hasn't tried to act like they're growing the game of golf, tried to act like it's revolutionary, he just says what it is. But this is pathetic. And there are featured groups on the Masters website. This is not some made-up term that CBS came up with once the pairings were released. The Masters puts together its featured groups to put on its website so that you can watch every shot. Who are the featured groups? Tiger Woods, Viktor Hovland, Xander Schauffele. That's one. Justin Thomas, Jon Rahm, Cam Young. That's one. Scotty Scheffler, Max Homa, Sam Bennett, who's the USAM champion. He plays with the defending champion. That's just tradition. But Scheffler and Max Homa, 2 of the top 5 players in the world. The last one, Jordan Spieth, Tommy Fleetwood, and Tony Finau. You know who's not on that list? Cameron Smith, who won the last major that was contested. And it's obvious. It's because Augusta's sending a message. And they know what's in the best interest of the sport, and they're not going to go along with the dog and pony show. The hit and giggle 8 times a year on the CW app. So they'll let you in because you qualified. But a lot of these live guys, the Jason Kokrak's and the guys who haven't won majors who took the money, Taylor Gooch, this may be it for them because they're not going to win on the PGA Tour this year. And unless they win a major this year, they're not going to be back. So I just thought it was interesting to see the featured groups, and it's just sad for the future of golf. And I will be violently pulling against the live guys on the weekend because the quicker DJ and Brooks and Bryson shoot 78 because they never play golf anymore and don't make the cut and are not heard from on the weekend, the quicker you delegitimize the fake golf tour that Greg Norman thinks he's running. And I hope that happens. Cam Smith said in his press conference this week, he's like, yeah, I didn't really play any golf. I went back to Australia and I went fishing all day. Phil can't break 80 in live. He gets to wear shorts and the cool high flyers hat. He's got $200 million, but he can't break 80. DJ's gained a bunch of weight. Bryson can't hit it on the planet. These guys aren't playing golf anymore. And I got Greg Norman saying that all the live players will be on the 18th green if one of their guys wins it. I got news for you, Greg. If Cam Smith wins this tournament and Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka don't make the cut, they ain't hanging around 2 days to go party on the 18th green at Augusta. And he wasn't invited because he's a nuisance. He relived some of those great memories he had as Augusta, blowing leads and stuff. I'm salty. It comes across. It sounds whiny, and I come from a position of zero power, and these guys are just multi-hundred millionaires, and I understand that. I'm just disgusted with what's going on in the game of golf, and I love watching it. And no, I don't get the sense that, oh, this is great because the best players are coming back at the Masters. I get the sense that if these guys are legitimized and they continue to cash these massive checks and then come to the majors and win and get to coming back, they're going to be able to pick more players off. And I don't need more great players leaving the PGA Tour to go play on the CW app. I was going to give bets and stuff for the Masters. Might do it a little bit later, but I'm a little bit too angry to do it. So we'll go to timeout. When we come back, we're going to hear some sound from D1 Baseball's podcast. They basically gave one premise for their conversation that I'll play for you. It was, we all talk about how great LSU is every single time on this podcast. Every week we say how great they are. Every week they win. What's the issue with LSU? And it may not be exactly what you think. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
ET Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're asking for your support in our effort to making more dreams come true. Each year, our Dreams Come True radiothon is powered by the Baton Rouge Clinic. Visit GuaranteeMedia.com to pledge your support today, and thank you.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Ochsner Health. Long live you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Nichols in baseball, Pels Kings on the hardwood, and it's championship celebration day. Join us for Wednesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got my live golf defenders in the Bayou Ford chat. They're missing my point by a lot. And they're not making incorrect points. They're just missing mine. Like people saying, why are you mad at people for doing what's best for them and their family? I'm not. Well, the PGA Tour is sponsored by oil companies. They're just as guilty as live. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the morality of anybody in question here. I'm talking about golf. I want to watch golf where all the good players play in one place. It'd be just like if a rival NBA league, basketball league, showed up and took LeBron and Giannis and Trae Young and Luka and we were left on the other side with Jokic and Julius Randle and Steph Curry. I mean, I can't rattle off all the best players in the league, but if you split the sport in half, it's not as good. I want to watch the good stuff. And it's not as good when the guys go to leave the other tour. So I need the other tour to fold, so everyone has to come back to my tour. I'm not speaking in terms of morality. I'm not talking about what's best for golfers involved. None of that is relevant to me. And I didn't say throw them in jail. They didn't commit any crimes. I'm just saying I want golf to be whole, and it's not right now, and that irritates me. So, look, I know that league is awful. Brooks Koepka already knows it's awful and wants to come back, and they won't let him. He knows he made a mistake, but that's not the point. The point is it's got to fold. So we're done with golf talk. I know that's not everyone's favorite, but it does. I mean, this week kind of matters to some people. So that's enough. Let's switch to college baseball. I teased it entering this segment, and I'll get Demui's thoughts on this coming up in 10 minutes. But the D1 Baseball Podcast is fantastic. It's Aaron Fitt, it's Kendall Rogers, it's Mike Rooney, and they do such a great job. And the point of the discussion that leads into the clip I'm going to play for you from Mike Rooney is we always talk about how great LSU is. Why don't we just take a second and not talk about how great they are? What are the issues we see with LSU? And I'm sure you're all going to point directly to the third starter, which Mike Rooney gets to, but there's more.
I'm worried. I'll use the word worried. I'm worried that LSU is built for blowouts and that this could be a problem at the end of the year when games aren't blowouts. Here's what I mean by that. Where they're strong, they're so overwhelmingly strong, they can just bludgeon opponents to death. But we are talking about a team whose Sunday starter in week 6 or week 7, whatever we're in, didn't get an out. I mean, Thatcher Hurd did not record an out on Sunday or Saturday, whatever it is. Their bullpen is a bunch of rotating freshmen. You know, like, I mean, their bullpen is still an area of concern. And when they play Trey Morgan in left field, that infield defense is really interesting. I mean, you've got Jared Jones, who's like an offensive tackle at first base. You've got an outfielder at second base. You've got a guy with a really checkered defensive past at shortstop. And you've got a DH at third base. And I think Tommy Tanks is fine at third base, but you're certainly not getting any range. And what if you run into a team that can pressure you with the inside game? Can you play that defense against a team that can pressure you with the inside game? I don't know the answer to that. And Jay Johnson's really, really smart. But tell me I'm overthinking this.
And before you fly out the handle at Runes and say, this guy's an idiot, our fielding percentage is best in the country, what is he talking about? Again, the point of the segment was to say, LSU's the best team. We all think they're the best team. What if we try to find some holes? So they're reaching here, admittedly, so before everyone flies off the handle. But I found it interesting. And so I'll take those one by one. The third spot in the rotation where we didn't get an out on Saturday is a huge deal. I made a huge deal about it on Monday, coming back off of a win over Tennessee. I basically led with they got problems in the rotation. So that I totally am on board with. Saying that the bullpen is a big rotation of freshmen is a bit of a stretch. That's a reach even for this segment. Garrett Edwards is not a freshman, and he's their highest leverage reliever. Christian Little's not a freshman. He's been in college for 3 years, and he pitches in the bullpen on the weekends. Riley Cooper is a third-year college pitcher who's pitched a ton. He is not a freshman. Nate Ackenhausen, we think, is going to be one of their highest leverage relievers. He is not a freshman. He's a first-year D1 player, but he's not a freshman. So Will Helmers is not a freshman. They do put some freshmen out there. Chase Shores has pitched. We'll see. And then Griffin Herring is emerging, and we'll see about that as well. And if they need Micah Bucknam to pitch or whatever the case may be. But calling the bullpen a rotation of freshmen is a bit disingenuous. The defensive bit is interesting. When you put Trey Morgan in the outfield, you have Jared Jones at first, who's not a first baseman. You have Gavin Dugas at second, who has been an outfielder for his college career after playing on the infield as a high schooler. Jordan Thompson's does have a checkered past defensively. I would just suggest that checkered past is reduced to about an 8-week period when he was recovering from knee surgery and was not very good defensively. Outside of that, as a freshman, he was above average. As a junior, he's been well above average defensively. Now, he's made a couple of iffy plays in the last 2 weeks, specifically throwing the ball, but I think he's pretty good. And Tommy White, I don't have much problem with Tommy White at third base. He hasn't made problems with his hands. He hasn't made problems with his throwing ability. His range, if you want to call it limited, okay. He ranged to his left and made a really nice stop on Saturday against Tennessee and didn't quite make the throw. But I think he's fine at third base. The fielding percentage is brilliant for LSU. They're fielding .986 as a team, and they've got 5 or 6 errors by their pitchers. I mean, Tommy White's got 2 errors on the year. Jordan Thompson's got 2 errors on the year. Gavin Dugas doesn't have an error. So fielding percentage-wise, they're fine. So I'm not super concerned about the infield defense. Would I rather have Christian Ibarra, Alex Bregman, and Connor Hale out there? Yeah. Would I rather have Josh Smith and Kramer Robertson and Cole Freeman out there? Yeah. Is this group good enough to play defense at an elite level and win a College World Series championship? Yeah. Because they've got an ace and they've got some arms and they're going to hit like crazy. So if it boils down to it in Omaha and you make an error defensively, it happened to the 13 team. We just talked about it in What If Wednesday at the bottom of the first hour. Bregman kicked a ground ball against UCLA and 2 runs scored and LSU lost the game. That doesn't mean your infield defense is atrocious. Now, if you go up there to Omaha and you make 9 errors in 3 games and you lose because you gave up 11 unearned runs, well, that's a little bit of a different story. But to me, the infield defense, not a huge concern. The rotating freshman out of the bullpen, not really at this point. And then the rotation is a significant problem. We know that. Maybe Ty Floyd continues to develop, continues to pitch against these really good teams, and blossoms into a really dependable guy that you can count on to get you through 6 innings. Not that he did it 2 weeks ago. He's not incapable. The 3-hole is going to be TBA when Jay announces it tomorrow, I'm sure. I don't know what they're going to do there, and that is a real significant hole. But as we discussed yesterday, that hole exists in just about every team in college baseball. There aren't a lot of guys who trot out a proven innings eater on Sundays. That's just a luxury, not a necessity. My sincere thought when we entered January was I could look down the list and rattle off 8 guys I thought could do it. I thought Skeens could do it. I thought Floyd could do it. I thought Hurd could do it. I thought Grant Taylor could do it. I thought Christian Little could do it. I thought maybe Griffin Herring could do it. There were 6 or 7 guys I thought they could be options in the weekend rotation. And you look up here, and you got 2. So, again, don't get all crazy with Runes and jump onto Twitter and tell them you're an idiot, look at the fielding percentage, you hate the Tigers, all this and that. That wasn't the point. He was just trying to poke some holes in LSU's resume, and he admitted at the end of this long thought, am I overthinking this? And I think the answer to that is probably just a touch. But we'll talk to Demouy about it here coming up in about 5 minutes. I want to remind you that 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by Service Chevrolet and the law offices of O.C. Brown. So donate today at 1045ESPN.com. We sincerely hope that a lot of you listeners will take that to heart. Head over to 1045ESPN.com and donate as little or as much as you can, because this is a wonderful cause, Dreams Come True, that helps put smiles on faces of children who are facing really, really difficult circumstances right here in our state. Sometimes they send them to Disney World. Sometimes they meet their celebrity friends. Sometimes they take them on a trip somewhere. Sometimes simple as just getting a dog for the family. And Dreams Come True is such an awesome organization, and we're thrilled to be a part of it over here at Guaranteed Media. We'll take a time out. We will come back. Chris Demouy on his thoughts. I know he heard what Runes had to say. We'll get his thoughts on it next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Those that are committed to elevating Louisiana. LWCC gives us the platform right here. So I want to invite you to go to lwcc.com/champions. Go there. One, you can see all the great champions that we've been telling you about for almost a year, whether it's Metamore Institute, Mimosa Handcrafted, the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, Four Sisters Rice, Fresh Junkie Racing, another one that we've talked about, Molly Kimball, Simone Malaz, 100 for the Hungry. List goes on and on and on. We want to add to that. So you're the ones that can help us do it. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana, whether it's a nonprofit organization, just a person or a business that's doing philanthropic work to help our great state. LWCC gives us the platform to elevate champions of Louisiana. We want to do it. You can help us. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text TB to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd.
At the Ochsner Medical Complex at The Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown, presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
The best.
Tune in for live MLB play-by-play this weekend when the Atlanta Braves host the San Diego Padres. Saturday at 6:20 and Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, it is Wednesday. It is 2:30. That means it's time to head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Find our guy, Chris Demouy. Had a good chance to sit down with old Demouy on Sunday for his recap podcast, the 60 feet 6 inches LSU baseball podcast. He joins us now. Chris, how are you?
Doing good. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very well. Before we get into Mike Rooney's take, which I saw you respond to on Twitter and I just talked about previously, I do want to go back to last weekend. Bigger story, LSU takes 2 of 3 from Tennessee, or the third starter doesn't get an out?
Whew. I think LSU taking 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. You know, we talked about on the podcast, facing 3 major league arms. They're coming in here, and they're still a very, very good team. And for you, as you astutely pointed out, none of those guys make it past the 5th inning. That just shows how good of a hitting team you are. You didn't get it done on Sunday. That was disappointing, but you still had a chance to come back. You know, Cooper settled down and gave LSU a chance to score some runs. They leave the bases loaded the 6th and the 7th, on Saturday. And I just think taking 2 out of 3 at home was really, really important, just to kind of put the rest of the country on notice and show what you can do against another top 10 team.
You played on some really good teams. How confident must this offense be to know they looked at the best, probably starting staff they're going to see all year and chased all those guys before the 5th inning was over?
Tell you what, if I was a pitcher on that staff, I would feel really good
Yeah.
knowing that it's kind of, you face those guys in scrimmages and inter squads, you know what they can do, but then you see it. They're probably not surprised, actually. You know, they're facing guys like Floyd and Steens and Little every weekend, you know, but still to see them do that with those guys who are, you know, the best pitching staff in the country last year and are kind of on that pace collectively again, that's going to give you a lot of confidence in the dugout from a coaching's perspective or even from another pitcher's perspective to know that your teammates can go out there and you know how the opposing pitchers feel because they're so tough to face, you know, when they see you more than once through the order.
What's your thoughts on clutch hitters? Jordan Thompson gets that 3-run double on Thursday, walk-off homer at Minute Maid, big swing in the Super Regional against Southern Miss last year. Are you a believer in some guys can race the occasion?
Yeah, I think so. I just think some guys, it's their ability to kind of deal with the pressure and the expectations and realize it's really not that big of a deal. And I think also, you know, maybe it's different with 2 outs, but, you know, you have other guys on the team can do it. So if you go up to the plate knowing you're just going to try to do the best you can, but if you can't do it, you have guys like Neal or Dugas or Cruz or whoever may be coming up after you that can pick up the slack. It's the same way pitching, right? If you don't do the job when you're out there, you hand the ball to somebody else and hope they get the job done. But some guys relish that situation. They dial in a little more. Everything becomes a little more clear, a little more focused. But I definitely buy into that. And some people are just a little more comfortable in that situation. So, you know, him and Dugas are proving their mettle this year with the ability to get clutch hits with 2 outs.
All right, let's talk pitching. Why is Thatcher Hurd struggling?
Man, I wish I knew. I'd love to be able to sit down with Wes Johnson. To me, it looks like it's a little bit of combination of mechanics, and I would imagine there's got to be some mental aspect to it as well. I mean, he knows he can do it. He obviously has the stuff to get every hitter out in the country. You know, I mean, he can pitch in the SEC, he pitched in the Pac-12, and I think his stuff plays at a ton of different levels. And sometimes when you're struggling, you know, it's just a feel thing. You just can't, you don't have the release point. And then some of that's mechanics, right? It kind of all feeds into each other. If you're not comfortable on the mound and your mechanics are off, then your confidence drops. And then, you know, you give up. Like last night, I thought he threw a really good changeup, gave up a hit up the middle. Then he comes back with a good slider for a first pitch on the corner, gives up a hit up the middle. And he's just kind of going through one of those streaks right now to where it's just not falling. You know, he needs somebody to make a dive and play in the outfield or turn a line drive double play. Just needs a little bit of good fortune. And then all of a sudden, you feel a lot of confidence mentally, and then your mechanics may kick in, and then, you know, he's off to the races. So he's just kind of struggling right now, and I think it's a couple different things.
I had that same thought when I talked about it at the top of the show. I said, look, the first 2 hits weren't crushed. They were ground balls, and I thought the second was going to be a double play ball, and then all of a sudden you got first and third, nobody out, and it just feels a lot different than it would if you had 2 out, nobody on, and you executed the same pitches. It's would you bring him back out for Game 3 of this weekend?
I would let him pitch in some form or fashion. I'm just really, and I don't know if I'm not trying to ruin this, but I don't know if you touched about it. I think the weather is going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do in terms of games 2 and 3. Tomorrow night looks great, but I definitely want to see him pitch and for him to, in the right situation, right, to put him out there with a chance to succeed and have success. So I would love to see him pitch against South Carolina. And I think I have a feeling, I just think Christian Little's getting ready to turn the corner. I said it on the preview podcast. I think he's getting close. You know, I think he's getting close to what we saw earlier in the season.
Had a couple really good sliders last night for strikeouts, so that's an encouraging sign. I feel the same way you do about Little, about Bryce Collins and his last 2 outings. That's a guy that Jay was hyping big time in the fall and before the season started for sure, and then he just lost the strike zone for a couple of outings. The last 2 have been better by my eye.
I totally agree, and it is weird, right? Because I saw him in the fall and the spring, and his velocity had picked up to 95, 96, and I'm looking around like, where did this come from? But then you see him the last 2 outings, and he's kind of 92, 93, so I don't know if he's dialed it back on purpose. Maybe he just felt a little out of control when he was trying to throw so hard. But I'm with you. The last 2 outings looked good. I was impressed. You know, a lot of people can let their guard down during a midweek game. Nickel State is good. You know, FULL and all those teams that we bring in are good to a certain extent, but from a player's perspective, you can relax a little bit, right? It's not the SEC, but I think Collins is he's stacking good outing on good outing, good inning on top of good inning. And I think once he does that in the SEC, then I think he may look like 2022.
Chatting with Chris Demui, former Tigers southpaw, host of the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU Baseball podcast. All right, you saw Coach Rooney's thoughts on Twitter where he says that LSU's trotting out a bunch of freshmen in the bullpen. The infield defense is iffy with no Trey Morgan. What are your thoughts on those comments by Runes?
I definitely replied. I wasn't trying to hit him back. It felt like a little bit of a hot take, but I could see what he says about the bullpen. Not necessarily like he made it sound like we're just trotting out like 5 guys to try to finish the game. Edwards has been standout. Nate Ossenhausen, when he's healthy, has been fabulous. You're seeing some guys turn the corner. But that's definitely a talking point we've had, me and you, and I think that's up for discussion. But I had some issues with the defense. He just says you got an outfielder playing second base with Gavin Dugas. I think that he has played outfield, but I think he's played fabulous this year. He has no errors. He kind of clowned on Jordan Thompson a little bit, and obviously he had a rough year last year, but this year he's been stellar. And it was just weird, right? Because he said, you put Trey Morgan in left and you have an offensive lineman playing first base. So to me, if you put Trey Morgan at first, does then that make the quote-unquote not good infield good all of a sudden? It felt like it was a little bit all over. I don't know if he's watched every LSU game like we do. And I didn't think it was, I don't know, maybe just a little bit off base there.
Yeah, and I think what's important is I framed it for my audience. They were admitting that LSU was the best team in the country and that everybody's praising LSU. The point of the exercise was to say, okay, what if we had some issues with LSU? What would they be? And those are kind of what they came up with. All right, we got South Carolina starting tomorrow. Obviously, gaudy home run statistics, gaudy SEC record, gaudy resume to this point. How much do you believe in the Gamecocks?
I did pick them as kind of my dark horse in the SEC East. I had them finish the third when I did some of the preview podcasts. Now, I did not think they would be able to hit this well. I really like their arms, and their arms have kind of proven to live up to that hype. I did not see, I don't know who did with Ethan Petrie, the freshman who hit 13 home runs this year. He's hitting 442, so he's right behind Dylan Cruz when you look at hitting in the conference. And then we got a Vanderbilt transfer, Gavin Casas, who's got 15 home runs. He was at Vanderbilt. He did nothing really at Vanderbilt. And then they had a guy last year who's catching for him, Messina, and he had 199 last year. So I think the hitting caught a lot of people off base. And doing the preview podcast, look, their non-conference was really bad. So they beat up on some bad teams, I think, and they've kind of had a easier road than LSU has, to be sure, when you look at their SEC competition. And that ballpark plays small. It's a smaller ballpark. So I think they're good. There's no doubt about that. They're playing at home, so I think they're better. But I'm going to be very interested to see how that lineup fares against LSU's pitching staff, and then vice versa.
Yeah, are you a little worried about Ty Floyd with that fastball that elevates, that they can elevate that a little bit? He gave up 3 home runs last weekend. This is a home run hitting club.
Yes. I am for sure. And any ballpark can be play like a high school field or, a launching pad, depending on the wind. And, it's 325 down the line. It's only 390 to center. And I think the gaps are probably 355, 360. They look really small. So, to your point, I think Floyd's got to keep the ball down. And one of the keys for my weekend was just LSU. First and foremost, LSU's got to keep them in the ballpark, because I think the Tigers, in terms of hitters, have a chance to really run some balls out this weekend in Columbia. But got to keep the ball down, and you're breaking stuff down, and just know who can and can't hurt you on that team.
Have a great Easter weekend. Enjoy the baseball, Demui. We'll do it next week.
I appreciate it, Hunt. Thanks, buddy.
He is Chris Demui, former Tigers southpaw, national champion, host of the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU Baseball podcast. We'll come back, close out our Wednesday edition. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Golf's first major is a tradition unlike any other, and now you can bet on who you think will win at Augusta on FanDuel. Right now, all customers get bonus bets back if your Augusta winner pick doesn't win but finishes in the top 10. If you think it's Sam Burns' time, the local boy, bet him to win. If it gets in the top 10, you get bonus bets back. There's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's so many different betting options, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So drive down Magnolia Lane and take a swing at betting the first major. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and get bonus bets back if your Augusta winner pick doesn't win but finishes in the top 10. That's FanDuel.com/1045 ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues and non-withdrawable bonus method expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $25 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're asking for your support in our effort to making more dreams come true. Each year, our Dreams Come True radiothon is powered by the Baton Rouge Clinic. Visit GuaranteeMedia.com to pledge your support today, and thank you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. On Thursdays, OTB, we get you ready for the weekend as we preview a little LSU South Carolina. Also, we'll talk some LSU spring ball off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 1045 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm going to play some Take It or Leave It here shortly, but I do want to give you some quick Masters bets. I got all off kilter on the live stuff and just didn't have time to give my picks because I was just in such a bad mood. As usual for the golf majors, I take a $100 bill, I divide it up, try to get you some winners, a little bang for your buck, a couple on the safer side. A couple of picks to win for $20 that pay pretty good. Jason Day is playing great golf, and he has played great at Augusta. He's such a good putter, and he's so good around the greens that I think he's got a chance to be in contention on the weekend. And $20 bet on Jason Day at plus 2,800 pays $560. So 20 to win, $560 on Jason Day. I love. Cam Young missed the cut last year at Augusta, but he is got all the game in the world. He hits it a mile. He's a great iron player. I I don't really see a big hole in Cam Young's game. I think experience for him may be something that he's lacking at Augusta, but that's why he's plus 3,200, and he's one of the best players in the world. So a $20 bet on Cam Young to win pays $640. I love those two picks there. To play it a little bit safer, Tiger to make the cut and Jason Day to top 20. You parlay those two together. I put $40 down on that to win 70. I like that. I think Tiger will make the cut. I don't think he'll be in contention because I don't think he can walk the course for 4 days, but he can knock it around that place with a kid's toy and make the cut. So I like Tiger and Jason Day to top 20, $40 to win 70 there. There's some pretty good odds on this player to miss the cut. I don't think it's because he's not a good player. I don't think it's because I'm not pulling for him. I think the guy is awesome and he's really fun to watch. He has not played here before. And so I think for Tom Kim, he could potentially find himself into a little bit of trouble, maybe get himself on the wrong side of some holes. I don't think he's going to miss the cut, but your odds are pretty good on him to miss the cut as opposed to some of the amateurs and senior players. Tom Kim's one of the best players in the world. $20 on him to miss the cut pays $43. So those are my 4 bets. $20 on J Day to win, $20 on Cam Young to win, Tiger to make the cut, parlayed with a Jason Day top 20, and then Tom Kim to miss the cut. Those are my Masters bets. Let's do some take it or leave it, Jacob Beck.
All right. Starting off, parade for the women's team. Take it or leave it.
Gotta take it. I am so glad that I went out to the 2009 championship parade, 19 championship parade. I was not planning on going until the day of, and I said, you know what? I'll go out there. And the chance to go out there and celebrate that group as they were so happy and coming through, I'm so glad I went on that. I guess it was a Saturday afternoon, maybe a Saturday morning that I went out there. I was living alone at the time and decided to go out there by myself, and I'm glad I went. So those of you who are kind of on the fence, go out and celebrate these ladies one more time tonight. The parade is on campus, starts right there by the parade ground at the School of Music and goes down Dalrymple at the roundabout and then goes down to the Assembly Center. So go check the parade out. I'm all for that. Certainly will take it.
Definitely agree there. All right, moving on. Joel Embiid scored 52 last night as the 76ers beat the Celtics. The MVP race is over. Take it or leave it.
I think I'll take it. I think that game means a lot in an 82-game schedule. This late against that team, top 3 defense in the league, and Embiid literally scored half their points. Doc Rivers said that exact quote of the game. He's like, "We just beat them, and he scored half our points. This thing is cooked." Giannis is fantastic. You could go a lot of different directions. Jokic has been great. I think Embiid might be the guy this year.
I would have to agree with you there. All right, Cardinals manager Oliver Marmol told reporters following Tyler O'Neill being thrown out at home and subsequently bitched, there is a standard. If you don't play up to it, you don't play. Take it or leave it.
Jeez. This is so Cardinals. It's unbelievable how Cardinals this is. We invented baseball. If you don't do it exactly our way, you're a fraud. One, Tyler O'Neill was not exactly loafing. I mean, I don't know if he was at full speed. He wasn't exactly loafing, and he got thrown out by one of the best outfielders in the league in Acuna.
It was a good throw.
It was. And 2, if you're going to say that, say it to him, not to the press. That's not how this works in the pros.
Yeah.
You want to put a message into your 16-year-old high school sophomore because he's a brat and he doesn't listen? Okay, maybe we'll do that. The pro, I don't think so. And this is classic Cardinals. They just think they invented the sport and that anybody who makes a misstep is wrong. And I can't get on board with anything the Cardinals do. I hope Marmol loses that clubhouse and it falls apart. Unfortunately, I doubt that will happen because they're pretty talented, and I don't think the rest of the Central is very good. So they'll probably win the division anyway.
Finishing off here, a LIV player will be in contention on Sunday.
Why'd you do that? I'll take it. I think there's a reasonable chance one of the Joaquin Neiman, Cam Smith, Brooks, DJ
Abe Answer
group. Yeah, maybe Abe Answer. Those guys, somebody's going to have a good round. It's a small golf tournament. There's not that many players in it. I still think Bryson will shoot 1 million. I still think Phil's going to shoot 1 million. I don't think those guys are in top shape. I hope Sergio shoots 96 and WDs and then says how little fun he's having, which he did last year. But I'm certainly not pulling for him. I really hope that one of the White Knights, one of the Rory Spieth guys wins it. It's a big week for Rory. I've been pulling against him his entire career because he plays for the European Ryder Cup team, and I just never pull for those guys, and I pull for the Americans. but he's won me over the last year, kind of standing up for what is great for the game of golf, and so that's what I will ride with. I do have a pick for the Masters before we get out of here, as we'll get it underway tomorrow. It's not a off the radar pick. It's not one that's some sort of hot take. It's not one that's brand new. It's actually the opposite of all of that. But I do think that there's a real chance this guy wins because I think he's playing some good golf. He's got to make some 7-8 foot putts. If he makes 7 or 8 foot putts, he will be in there. You can say that for a lot of guys, but say it for this guy. I think Jordan Spieth has got a real chance to win. He's even played well there when he didn't have his best stuff over the last 4 or 5 years. He's starting to come back and be in contention a little bit more regularly. I'm going with Jordan Spieth this weekend. With the wet and the rain, it's kind of hard to pinpoint a score. I'll go with Spieth at 9 under to win the Masters this week. So we'll see how that plays out on Monday when they have crowned a champion. Really excited for tomorrow's show. Going to have Paul Maneri on the show tomorrow. Coach Maneri is working for the ACC Network a little bit, doing some TV. I want to get kind of his thoughts on doing some of that. He also has the opportunity now in the spring to do some other things beside coach baseball. So he went to the Masters this week. I want to get his thoughts on the Masters, and a guy that he recruited LSU, Dylan Cruz, has had a pretty good run of it. Like his thoughts on that as well. So excited to hear from Coach Maneri tomorrow. We will hear from Scott Rabelais from Augusta tomorrow. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint on the Pels as they try to rebound from last night's loss. We'll have him on the show, as well as Joe Healy from D1 Baseball previewing the entire weekend in the Southeastern Conference, including LSU and South Carolina, which of course I will help him do in the process. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge's on demand tab. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube. Anywhere you get your audio or your video in the YouTube case, you can find us right there. I went over the LSU Nichols game, college football recruiting budgets. It was a What If Wednesday. Spring games against other opponents. Gave some Masters thoughts on Liv. Some LSU baseball, and Demouy always joins us on Wednesday, so appreciate him for doing that. Jimmy Ott's Game Time tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 1 to 3 weekdays. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.